Now we will discuss about the structure of the digestive system so that we can understand the functions of the digestive system. Yeah. This is the anatomy of the digestive system, you can see on the screen. So the very first part of this digestive system is the mouth. The function of the mouth is to chew the food. Even we have teeth also. Teeth also is the part of the digestive system which work like on the food. It's like biting and cutting the food and the nuts that way. Then there's one more thing about the mouth. The digestion of the carbohydrate starts from here. Okay, there are different glands close to here, salivary glands, which secretes like enzyme like amylase, which is called amylase, which is helpful for the digestion of the carbohydrate. After mouth, we see there's a pharynx. Okay, pharynx is the place. There's a epiglottis also. Pharynx has two-way space, which is open in the air, like in the air pipe, in the trachea also, and in the esophagus also. And below to that pharynx, there is a epiglottis. Okay, just above the larynx, there's the epiglottis. It helps to cover the larynx, which block the windpipe route. Okay, so that the food we are taking in is not entering into the windpipe, into the trachea. Next, we see esophagus. Okay, esophagus is the food pipe. It is located just behind the trachea. Okay. The function of the esophagus is to move, to propel the food more further towards the stomach. Peristalsis squeezes food down. Okay. Esophagus is made of smooth muscles and the skeletal muscles, and the main function of these muscles like extrusive, intrusive movements. Okay, and to move the food further, there is a peristalsis movements. These are like as food is moving down, so this esophagus is like extrusive, like it's expanding and then contracting, expanding and contracting as the food. It's like kind of bolus this time after the mouth. Then this kind of bolus is moving downward. So there is a peristalsis movement is happening so that the food can move further down to the stomach. Then we see in the stomach what's happening. Stomach has folds. Okay, the inside structure of the stomach is really specific. It has different folds, and these folds helping or work on the churning of the food, breaking down. Okay, as we are receiving the food from the mouth in the form of the bolus, now this food is also breaking down in like more micro elements or components or like the bits. Okay, and there's a different secretion happened here, like there's a given is a like pepsin. There's a other also which is called HCl, hydrochloric acid. Also hydrochloric acid is also really helpful for the breakdown of the food more like nicely and finally. Then we see there's a liver. Okay, what's the function of the liver? It produces bile, and bile is important for the digestion of the food. Okay, next we see there's a gallbladder below two, not below two, just along with the liver we see gallbladder. What is the function of the gallbladder? Gallbladder store the bile. Okay, bile is released from the liver, then gallbladder store it, and whenever our body need it, then gallbladder release the bile. After that, what we see? A small intestine. Like it also has folds. It also has specific structure inside as the stomach has. And these small intestine also has villi. These are the like finger likes, very small, very fine fingers, like it is called villi. Okay, which is located inside this small intestine. And all these like the folds and these villi is really helpful for the digestion of the food and also about the absorption. Okay, next we see this small intestine have three parts, which is called duodenum, jejunum, and the last end of the small intestine is called ileum. Okay, In the small intestine, like the process of digestion and in the small intestine, and absorption also happen in the small intestine. Then we see there's a pancreas. Okay, pancreas makes different enzymes for small intestine, for the digestion of the food and for the absorption also really helpful. Then what we see next, we see large intestine. Okay, large intestine has no folds, no specific structure inside, and has no villi. As small intestine has villi inside, it doesn't have. Okay, the main function, like after the small intestine, all the food nutrients is absorbed by the villi. If there is any waste, and it is propels remaining waste from the small intestine, propels, moves forward towards the large intestine. And the function of the large intestine, only if there's any water content, it absorbs that water content, and it has only waste product. And after that waste product, like moving down towards the rectum. Okay, large intestine also has different parts, as we see in the picture. The first, if we start from the right side, the first segment is called transverse, it is called ascending colon, and then this segment is called transverse colon, and this segment is called descending, and the last one is called sigmoid. Okay, so at the hand what happened, this is called rectum, stores feces. Okay, whatever is remaining, all the waste part remaining from the food after the absorption of all nutrients is coming collected here in the rectum. So this is the structure of the digestive system. Complete structure and anatomy we have discussed. Now we will talk about the functions of the digestive system. We have already discussed about the structure of the digestive system. Now we will talk about the functions. What are the functions of the digestive system? Digestive system has 4 major functions. Okay, now we will cover these functions one by one. First function we see here is ingestion. Okay, ingestion is the taking the food inside. Okay, putting the food inside the mouth. This is the ingestion, and there are different parts which plays important role in the ingestion, like the teeth, tongue, mouth, and saliva. Okay, like the enzymes amylase, which is helpful for the digestion, for the chemical digestion of the carbohydrate. Okay, so this is the ingestion. The function of the teeth is biting and cutting the food, and the mouth just making it inside, moving it inside with the help of the tongue. Then there's a salivary gland, which are like the amylase and different saliva secreting here, which is helpful to make the food inside the mouth more lubricated, so so that mouth can chew it more nicely and well. Okay, what we see here, mechanical digestion includes chewing and swallowing. Okay, swallowing here, and the chemical digestion of the carbohydrate and the fats also. Like basically we always say, like the carbohydrate, the main digestion of the carbohydrate begin from here, from the mouth, with the help of the amylase. So this is the very first function of the digestion process, which is called ingestion. After ingestion, what happened? The next part is esophagus. Okay, when the food is inside the mouth, after the chewing and cutting all the foods, it forms like a bolus. Then after that, this foods moves further towards the esophagus, towards the food pipe we have already seen in the structure of the digestive system. And these bolus, these food moves down with the help of the peristalsis. There is a peristalsis movement which helps to move the food further towards the stomach. Now we will talk about the next function of the digestive system. So here we see the next function, digestion and the absorption. First, we will talk about the digestion. What does mean digestion? Okay, in the ingestion, now we have a bolus. We have food in the form of the bolus inside our stomach. You can see here esophagus. Okay, after the mouth, there's a esophagus. There's a food canal here, and through which food is moving, propelling down towards the stomach with the help of the peristalsis movement. Peristalsis movement. Okay. Now the main process, main function of the digestion happens here in the stomach. What happened in the stomach? We can see here there's a point. Mechanical digestion includes peristaltic mixing and propulsion. Okay. So as we already know that the stomach has a specific structure which is called fold inside. Okay, and what is the main function of these folds? It helps to churn. It helps to churn this food more finely. Okay, during this process, chemical digestion of the protein and fats begin, and the next point we see absorption of the lipid soluble substances such as alcohol and the like medicine aspirin happened here. Okay, so in the stomach, though digestion process is happening here, but here the absorption of the alcohol and aspirin is also happen in the stomach. As we know that stomach has a specific structure inside called folds. With the help of it churns the food, and here there's a different enzyme secretions also happens like hydrochloric acid, and there are other enzymes also, and the secretion from the liver also, like it receiving bile also for the digestion of the food. Okay, so what is the function of hydrochloric acid inside? If the food we are intaking inside, if it has any bacteria, then the main function of the hydrochloric acid, it kills those bacteria, and hydrochloric acid is also helpful for the breakdown of the food, okay, more finally. Then we have bile receiving from the liver. So the function of the bile is also digestion of the food. It helps, and it also helps in the breakdown of the food also, like it is same breakdown and the digestion. Then liver we already know about the liver. The function of the liver is producing the bile, and below liver we have gallbladder also, and the function of the gallbladder is to store the bile, and whenever during the digestion, whenever we need bile, gallbladder secrete the bile for the digestion of the food. Then what we see next after stomach, we see there's a small intestine. Okay, what's happening here? Mechanical digestion including mixing and propulsion primarily by segmentation. Okay, then next point, first we'll see here, then I will explain. Chemical digestion of the carbohydrate, fats, polypeptides and nucleic acids. So here the digestion of the other nutrients happens here. Okay, and the structure of the small intestine, like from the inside, is also having folds, same as the stomach having from the inside, and the small intestine is also having villi from the inside. So villi are really helpful for the absorption, and the folds helpful for the churning of the food. Okay, so in the small intestine there's you see pancreas also close to this. Pancreas also releasing different enzymes and hormones also, like the insulin it releases here, which is really helpful to maintain the blood sugar in the body. So in a small intestine, the digestion of the carbohydrates and fats and proteins happens. What happens as the carbohydrates, fats and protein, these are the like macromolecules. Okay, and our cells, blood cells and the different cells tissues cannot absorb carbohydrate, protein and fat directly. So this is the reason we need this digestion process. Okay, so here in small intestine, in stomach also the digestion happened of the carbohydrate and fats, and carbohydrate, protein and fats. So carbohydrate break down into micronutrient as glucose, fructose, and the fat break down into fatty acids, and protein break down into amino acids. Like these are the micromolecules. So our cells can absorb, these villi can absorb only these micromolecules as fatty acids, amino acids and glucose. So all these functions of the digestion happens in stomach also and in small intestine also, and absorption also start in small intestine. Okay, as the breakdown of these macromolecules completed, okay, then what happened? Then absorption starts. So as we already know, this small intestine inside has villi, a large number of the villi they have inside, and the main function of the villi is to absorb these nutrients. Okay, then villi absorb. This is the third process, absorption, taking in nutrients by cells. This is the third function. So here these villi begin to absorb these micro molecules like the peptides, amino acids, glucose, fructose, fats into fatty acids, water, minerals and vitamins. So all these nutrients is being absorbed by the villi in the small intestine, and this is the complete process of digestion and absorption like completed here in small intestine. Okay, so this we see that in the process of the digestion and absorption, okay, our mouth, teeth, esophagus, stomach and small intestine for the digestion of the different macronutrient or macromolecules, then absorption happened in the small intestine and a bit in the stomach also. Next we will talk about the digestion, the last function of the digestive system. So now the process, the function of the ingestion, digestion and absorption is completed. After that there is a last process which is called ejection. Okay, ejection happens here. So after small intestine there is a large intestine. Okay, large intestine also having different colons. So after the complete absorption of the different nutrients, okay, there's some like remaining part of the food which is called wastage, and that wastage parts moves from small intestine towards to the large intestine. Okay, towards to the large intestine. Large intestine, like the structure of the large intestine, it doesn't have any fold inside or villi inside, because a large intestine does not play an important role in the digestion or for the absorption. So as the remaining part, waste part, moves completely towards the large intestine, there's again like peristaltic movement. These intestine is also made of like smooth muscles. So this is the characteristics of these smooth muscles, extrusive movements, okay, which cause peristaltic movement. Then if there is any liquid content, any water content inside that remaining part, then this content is being absorbed by the large intestine. And after that, after the absorption of any water, any liquid part, the remaining part of this food, like which is completely waste part, is collected into the rectum in the form of the feces. Okay, in the feces, in the form of the feces collected in the rectum. And in the digestion process, that part of the that part of the food which is completely waste part is like eliminating digestion by the anus. Okay, so this is the complete functions. These are the complete functions of the digestive system we have discussed here. Okay, which is like ingestion, digestion, absorption, and digestion. These all are the main functions of the complete digestion process. Now we will talk about the effect of yogic practice on our digestive system in the next slide.